Episode 2, Gym Guys Podcast. What are we, January 4th? The year's already flying by. Last time we wished everyone a happy new year. We're already into the new year now.
Yeah.
So great to see everybody. Drago1850 on Instagram, Chris Scotto. I introduced these other fine gentlemen last time. We got Eric Schwartz, formerly Natural Guy, now the Eric Schwartz. Various experiences and stories. Yes, cheers. And Jason Budsock, VP of Product Development at Animal.
Whoa, he's flexing on us.
He's flexing. I'm wearing the sweatshirt for that reason. I got to stay covered. I got nothing to show. But welcome back, everyone. Glad to hopefully be a part of your lives now and in the future. And like we expressed last time, just kind of sharing, good experiences, great practices, doing good things in and outside of the gym with great people that again, we've kind of crossed paths. I think we were going to talk about that last time, how the universe or universal brought us all together. So before I say more I'll hand it over to Eric or Jason if you'd like to speak about that.
Should we talk about how we connected, Schwartz?
Sure.
Yeah, definitely, because they're the foundation. I'm the third wheel.
Oh, we all have a story. Yeah, if I believe this was going back to the days of the forums, right? This is when Bodybuildingcom, Get Big, had forums. And if I remember, it was Bodybuildingcom that we first connected, where the great Natural Guy showed up, loved Universal. I was working for Universal. I'm like, who is this guy? He loves the brand. Got to be part of the brand. Like, we got to make him a rep, right? Like, I think that was one of the first things that we did when we crossed paths. We made you a rep.
Yeah.
We built it from there. We started the forum. I remember the animal forum. This was going back to, this is a throwback, 2006. The idea came in 2005. I presented it to leadership that we need to do a forum, right? Bodybuilding.com has it. Get Big, Muscular Development, all these places. We need it for our brand. And it took a while to set up because we wanted it to look perfect. We had to have the right moderators. We had to have the right structure. We had to have the right look to it. Setting up, we had no idea how to set up the B bulletin. It was this blue template that we had a guy, Henry, working with us that set up an amazing animal forum, which lives to this day. However, I can't even log in. That's a problem. That's a story for a different day. I can't log in. But I remember approaching Eric about joining our forum. And at the time, I think you were known as Natural Guy everywhere. But at the time, what was the name you picked? This was a unique name.
Well, somebody at the company thought that I should change my name to have something more unique that's more animal. And I had it changed to Intensity.
That's right.
And I still have an animal jersey, one of those football jerseys that has the word name Intensity on the back.
That's a throwback.
But yeah, I started at the Muscle Mayhem forum, and I was a moderator on there, and that was Chad Nichols' forum, and there was a lot of pro bodybuilders that posted on there on the regular.
I had no idea, man. That was you?
Yeah,
that is super cool.
Wow,
made a lot of good connections on that site, and it was great, man. What a wealth of information. And then Bodybuilding.com, and then obviously the Animal Forum, which the Animal Forum was way ahead of its time. I don't think any other brand could have pulled it off. At one time, I know at our height, we had 70,000 users on there, which was a lot for a forum.
It was crazy. Yeah.
A lot of activity, great group of people, man. And that's where the Animal Barbell Club became born out of, and all this stuff. And this is like you were saying before I even started working for the company. And I don't know if you remember, but I would go to the Arnold Classic. I went on my own dime, stop by the booth, talk to you. Forgot what product you were teasing, and I asked you for the secret formula to tell me before everybody else, and you made me swear not to tell it publicly.
Probably lava.
I think it was M-Stack. No, I think it was you guys.
Maybe it was an updated, maybe an
M-Stack or something like that. But it was cool. I got some inside information and got to meet everybody. And I met Greg G. Diesel in person before I started working there too.
Yeah. Hey, we gotta have him come on.
For sure.
Yeah. We were talking before this that we are gonna have some big guests coming on. I don't know if one of you guys would like to maybe dive into that, get into some of the guests that we're going to be having in some upcoming podcasts.
Well, I don't want to say any names yet because we haven't confirmed anybody, but we do know a lot of people in the industry. So we are going to have some big name professional bodybuilders on here. We talked about having some prominent gym owners on here. There's a lot of great gyms and their stories should be told. Just industry people, right?
Yeah.
People who are in the industry, some people who have written articles, writers and stuff. We could potentially have some supplement company owners on here as well.
Absolutely. That would be
cool.
Know
a lot of those people as well.
Yeah. Ingredient suppliers. We have great connections with ingredient suppliers, contract manufacturers. We could run the gamut of the industry from bodybuilders, lifters, all the way down to owners, supplement ingredients, all those things. Very cool.
That's what I love about this platform, and that's what I love about being able to do this with all of you is I love behind the scenes things. I like when you learn almost documentary wise, not saying that this is documentary, a docudrama, although we'll probably make it that way, but with the entertainment, but it's just getting to know those people, whether they're gym owners or they invented a piece of equipment or an accessory or a product, or how you came to make products, Jay, or how you collaborate with Eric to say, hey, this is the right product for this target audience or this demand. I love the behind the scenes of all those things. I think that's the coolness that we all can bring to this podcast.
Side note on that, what was cool at the time when we worked for Animal was that everybody in the marketing department at one time was a competitor of some sort, either bodybuilding, powerlifting. We had a bikini competitor. So we wanted everything to be authentic, right? So if we came out with something or we wrote something, it should be authentic. And what was cool is a lot of the products, I think, were just ideas of us talking in the marketing room and saying, hey, we'd love to have, it's kind of selfish, like we'd love to have this product. Right, Jay?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I told you gentlemen that I was on the Price Plow podcast, which will be going out next week on their channel. But one of the questions they had asked me was about that, like how do you formulate supplements? I said originally it was a little bit selfish. We were doing it for ourselves, but then as the animal line got bigger and bigger, it's not as easy as a brand that's starting out, right? Like if Ghost started out from nothing, Glaxon starts out from nothing. You have these other brands, Apollon, right? Apollon's a local brand also in New Jersey. That same thing starts out from nothing, and it's easier to populate. But once you have a populated brand, it's a whole different approach that you have to have. You have to be really strategic about updating, launching new products. So that's something that I got into on that podcast, which will be cool to hear.
Very true. And Animal and Universal is such a huge line with so many SKUs. I don't think people realize like Animal doesn't have a million SKUs, but if you counted all the Universal SKUs too, it's like probably 90 or 100 SKUs. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Especially when you start getting into all those different formats too that Animal and Universal so good at, your powder form, pill pack form. Great options.
Eric, you want to get into a little bit about what you're going to be doing this weekend? I heard something big is going on for your brand.
Yeah, for Poor Power Nutrition, we have a big expo here in New Jersey called the Super Pet Expo. If you're in the area, it's really fun. You can bring your dogs, you can bring your pets. Some guy had like a monkey last year. It's a really, really fun expo. It's in Edison, New Jersey. Big for us. It's a consumer show. We don't do a lot of trade shows. I do a lot of smaller events. Like last year, I did every weekend. I was at a small event, but we don't do a lot of big trade shows. But this is kind of a big one in the consumer space, and it's a lot of fun. We did it last year. We were just brand new. I mean, we were like 5 months old. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's cool that it's local because my family and friends can come too. So we're looking forward to that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Nice. Can you give a little background about what you'll be presenting there or how the booth will look?
Yeah, we have a 10 by 10 booth, not a huge one. We're going to have our 4 flavors of dog butter. That's our staple product. We have lick mats too. I'm almost out of stock already on them. I got another order coming, but I don't think it's going to make it in time. We started selling lick mats. It's a perfect like complement to dog butter. But yeah, it's really going to be about the dog butter. We are going to launch some products later this year, but we don't have them yet. So our 4 flavors of dog butter is our staple, and that's what we'll be promoting.
Very cool.
That's great, man. Congrats. That's going to be a great event for you. Definitely a great way to start off 2023.
It's fun, and I've been pretty lucky. Like, I got to work all those fitness expos, which is obviously something that I'm passionate about and love. And now I'm doing pet expos, and I love dogs and pets and stuff. So it's cool.
Perfect.
I think is there a Fit Expo or FitCon going on in LA? That's
There
this month,
there
right?
is a Fit Expo in LA. I don't know if it's this weekend. I think it
I
might be
know
next weekend.
Cutler always makes a big deal out of it.
So I worked that expo for Animal, and it was a really, really good expo. Great crowd. I don't remember the year. Higo was there with me. What's interesting this year, and it just the timing wasn't great. They have added a pet part of the expo to the Fit Expo.
Wow.
So it would have been perfect to go out there. Just the timing wasn't great for me.
Wow. Yeah, it should be good. One day I'll get there. Tough part of the year after you maybe have some
it's not great timing. Like
yeah,
right
after you have some holiday time off, and then you're heading right over there. But hopefully, if you do,
right.
What about you, Jay? What are you doing? Anything good this weekend?
This weekend, I'm going to use it to recover a little bit.
Yeah,
I changed my schedule around so that I get more training on the weekends now, because the Monday to Friday is very busy. So I try to make sure that I can recover, and by the weekend where I have some time, right? Like I try to make sure that I get my training for upper body movements in on the weekend.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah, I thought we talking about training times and like when we train and why. So why don't we dive into that? Like what time of day you train, or, kind of your schedule and why.
Well, I'll carry on a little bit based on what I was saying. I've changed my schedule so that I focus on walking and cardio in the morning and in the evenings. I try to get I shouldn't say try, get my 10,000 steps by doing that. And then training wise, I train 3 times during the week. And again, it all depends on my schedule. Sometimes it will be in the morning, sometimes it'll be in the evening. I try to make sure that my part of my day is really jam-packed and focused on work, that I try to get all that in. And then the bookends are when I do my movements or the cardio. And then on the weekend, I try to prioritize first thing in the morning, getting those weights in, just get it over with. And then I can enjoy the rest of the day.
Chris, what about you?
Chris, I was gonna say, yeah, Chris, because you have a busy schedule too.
Yeah, I mean, I typically like to train at night. I like having the stress of the day fuel my workout, and also as a way of kind of decompressing. I also like having all that food in me for when I train, and knowing that after I train, I am going to eat a meal, the window of opportunity meal, if you will, if you want to call it that, or it might be a shake. It depends on how late it is. But knowing that I can also rest at night into the next day helps me kind of like push myself even further. Like I feel like if I train in the beginning of the day before I had a long day at work, let's say it's a 10-hour day or an 11-hour day or one of those, long days plus a business dinner, I'm going to be so smoked by the time I get to the middle of the day or the end of the day. And I'll probably be so ravenous, hungry wise. I'd rather know that even though it's like, okay, you're probably going to want to go home and just conk out. I'll kind of just reset myself, whether it's having a pre or having a shake, and kind of just have a few moments where I just reflect on, hey, what am I going to do tonight? What am I going to try to do as far as training goes? And that's why nighttime just seems to have always fit in for me. I do enjoy training earlier if it's on a Sunday morning or on a weekend, or if it's a nice day. I'll go to my old high school track and do some basic movements, push-ups, pull-ups, run on the track, and do lunges as well. So when it's a nice day, like today was particularly nice, but we were at work, so I couldn't do that. But definitely, I prefer evening training, and then with what Evan has got me doing as far as compound free weight movements and the volume, it'll be a longer workout for me than usual for me to get through it. But definitely enjoying it.
How about you, Eric?
Mine's kind of evolved and changed. Jay and I used to train together when I worked at Universal. We had a gym there, and that was actually the best part of the day. We used to train or attempt to train around 2:00, which was nice. It kind of broke up the day a bit. So, but my schedule's evolved. My life has changed. Very busy. And I've always been a morning person, right? I've always woken up early. I wake up super early without an alarm clock. It's a curse because it happens on the weekends too. It doesn't, my body doesn't know the difference. So I started to train in the mornings so that I can get it done. And I was up anyway. I do train fasted. Now, I don't do it purposely. I'm not trying to train fasted or anything magical about fasted, but I train early, and I don't like to have a lot of my stomach. Like, I would want like 2 hours for a meal to digest, and I don't have that time now in the morning. I guess I could do a shake or something, but I don't. I just do a pre-workout, go to the gym. And this is something that I've changed as well. I wanted to get some cardio in as well, more for health and stuff. So I now do 20 minutes on the treadmill before I lift. And I used to be, think, oh, you can't do cardio before you lift.
Yeah.
You can't train fast. And I used to think all those things, but they have not affected my training at all. My training has been great. It took me a couple of weeks to adjust to the fasted training, but now I'm totally adjusted to it. The only workout that I won't do that way is legs. I save that for the weekend, and I will eat a meal and then train 2 hours afterwards. And I'm trying to get in more activity when it's warmer out. I have a gym that's fairly close to my house, so I could walk there and back. So I get my cardio in because I really hate doing the treadmill. It's boring. But I also hate the cold, so that's only going to happen when it's warm out.
Love it.
But yeah, basically I'm training 5 to 6 days a week. My training revolves around the big three, although I'm not on a specific powerlifting program. I'm actually doing more like a hybrid bodybuilding program, but I still make sure I get in my squat, my bench, and my deadlift.
Nice. Make sure you don't let the TikTok kids know that you're adding some hypertrophy in there.
I don't know if it's optimal.
I agree with you too on that, Eric. With training fasted, those 1 or 2 mornings that I described that I do train, I will typically train fasted. I'm like, as far as eating a meal and then waiting 45 minutes to an hour and then going, for me, training first thing in the morning on a weekend is like, let's just get the day going. Let's get it going on the right foot. But what I have found, and this is not just to be specific to animal products, but as far as Animal the brand, but I found taking aminos, whether it's 2 packs of nitro plus my pre, there's some substance there of feeling still like you got something in your gut that you can go for a longer period of time, but obviously, immediately kind of digestible protein, if you will. And if any of you who are watching this have questions on that, because I know I'm not describing it accurately, is watch one of Evan Centopani's videos on YouTube. He does a few segments where he much better explains what I'm trying to explain and how easily assimilated having amino acid type protein, whether it's an EAA powder or a pill with your pre, you'll find probably more stamina, more strength, longer lasting, and almost feeling like you, not a meal, but you got something in your gut that's able to get you through your workout that doesn't get in the way of your workout. So I would recommend anybody try that. I think it's definitely a difference maker for sure.
I do sip on EAAs and electrolytes while I'm training.
Yeah, that's actually one of the keys. Electrolytes. I think people underutilize salt, especially in the diet, to make sure that you're getting muscle pumps and that you're holding water so that you can do your workout properly. But
yeah, it used to be salt was bad, right? Raised your blood pressure, but it seems to be that unless you're hypertensive to begin with, if you're a normal, healthy individual, it doesn't seem to do that, right? Exactly. So yeah, I think a lot of athletes could benefit from salt.
Absolutely. I like it, Chris. And I did my post last week about Animal Nitro. That was the very first supplement that I formulated for Animal. That was
love it. I think it's cool,
man. 2004 we launched it.
So let's talk about that. That was 2004. Like just becoming
18
the
years
rage.
ago, really? Like 19 years ago, really? That's crazy.
And they weren't popular back then. Back then, it was BCAAs.
They weren't known. Yeah, we had.
So what? How did you talk about how you how'd you come up with that idea and talk about it?
Yeah, when I had started out at Universal, I was working with Phil Kim, great brander, and we had come across EAA studies that had just been launched. I got hired in 2003, and the studies were just published around that time from Tipton and Wolf, and they were like the original EAA studies, which when we found them, we thought they were revolutionary. That, oh my God, like, why is nobody doing this? Everyone's talking about BCAs. You guys probably remember BCAs from what, the 90s? They've probably been around, maybe the 80s. I'm not sure how long, but no one was talking about essential amino acids. BCAs are 3 of the essential amino acids. But we came across those studies and we're like, wow, we need to do supplements. So we literally took what the studies that they did, 6 grams of essential amino acids, and put them into capsules. And then we did animal nitro G, which was the same 6 grams plus 35 grams of carbs based on the study, was that you take it with dextrose. So we basically just emulated the study and came out with that before anyone else. It was probably ahead of its time. We had a very loyal cult following at the time that loved the product, but it was hard to get mainstream attention. So I would say to this day, it's still gathering attention, and we had to come out with juiced aminos as the essential amino acid product to really hit it into the marketplace. But yeah, that was actually cool to be ahead of our time with the amino acid game.
There's some backlash against BCAAs now, because I guess a lot of the science is showing that it really doesn't do as much, or that EAAs are much better. So there's a lot of people think that BCAAs are a waste now. I don't think they're a complete waste.
I don't think so. Yeah. But the studies were much more convincing for the essential amino acids, that you're getting all the essential amino acids, which have also the BCAAs are great in theory, because of the muscle catabolism, but then you also want to make sure that you spike protein synthesis, and you need all the essential aminos for that.
All right. Assuming somebody doesn't know what an essential amino acid is, give us a 30-second thing on what essential aminos are.
So the essential aminos are the ones that your body can't make. And there's 9 of them. And here's the crazy thing. At the time, tryptophan, I don't know if you guys remember this, tryptophan was actually banned because there was a contaminated batch back in the 90s. So the original studies were done without it, but they had niacin and B6 in place of tryptophan, so that you sort of have like the building blocks, I could say, the precursor.
Interesting.
Which was very interesting.
I remember that.
So some people will say, hey, if you're eating enough dietary protein, you don't need an amino acid supplement. What's your feelings on that, Jay? And Chris, jump in.
I would say, yeah, I think you can get an additional benefit, but it's all about the timing. I don't know if they're necessary. Like if you're slamming protein 24/7, like you're overloaded on protein. But I would say for someone who is watching their diet, especially, that's where they become essential. Like it's harder, and you want to make sure that you're tapping into clean sources.
But there's definitely an advantage, right? Because they're in free form, right? The essential
free
aminos.
form, they're quickly utilized.
They don't really require much digestion, right? They get to work right away, which is why they'd be advantageous taking them intra-workout, right? Yeah,
I would say, the before and after would be the times based on the studies. Those were the key times that you would take those. And especially for, just key time, right? Like the anabolic window, it's an important time to take those key nutrients.
I would agree. I think the assimilation, the convenience of it is what's key, where you could probably get away drinking, a whey protein isolate shake that's easily digested as well within, depending on the person, maybe 20 minutes before workout, 15, half hour, depending on your digestion. But to take free-form EAA or BCAA with your intra or your pre, I think is key. And also, I've used it on the road if I really didn't get that meal that I wanted to at the end of the night, but I want to drink my water or stay a little bit hydrated. I would down, some amino acids before I go to bed. And you could say maybe it helps you sleep a little bit better. Maybe it keeps you in an anabolic state a little bit better. I know we're always, oh my God, I can't be in a catabolic state, for more than a minute.
I think that's overblown.
It's overblown.
But
you don't lose muscle that easy.
That's how we sold it back at GNC in the 90s and 80s. That's for sure. I remember that whole tryptophan ban era.
So you worked at GNC?
Yep. I grew up working.
How long did you work there? Tell us about it.
Sure. I grew up working at GNCs through high school and college. I actually started off at Nature Food Centers, the old chain or corporation, if you will. And Nature Food Centers was a little bit more food oriented, soybean, the whole vegan, tofuti, chlorella, spirulina era. I mean, it's not that it's an era, it's still going, but
Still
I
going.
found more customers were buying that. And I'll never forget, and my friends that'll watch this will laugh because they'll know who I'm talking about. There was a GNC downstairs, and it was a tremendous GNC. You could play a game of football in there. It was tremendous. And I'd go in there and always be like, oh, they got the cool product. They got Strength Systems USA. They got, Cybergenics, and we were selling more of our own brand, but with a few name brands, maybe some Twin Lab at the time. And the owner came upstairs and he heard me speak to a customer and just said to me, I want you to come work for me. And I'm like, where? He's like, GNC. I'm downstairs on the first floor. Come on, get your stuff and let's go.
Wow.
And
Right
I
there.
said, now here? And he's like, well, whenever you feel comfortable. He's like, but give me a notice and I'll pay you more and, all that. So, I mean, if I'm 15, 16 years old, like this is the coolest thing in the world. This is great, So I wound up doing that. I did it in an amicable, professional way. And so let's say it's 1986, 87, I start working at GNC and worked there for years, not only in New York. I worked there when I moved to California, when I trained at Gold's Fulton and Gold's Venice. And I just watched all the waves of the different products between, the people that came in for stuff like Cybergenics, the people that came in for Jay, you were talking about, the invention of Nitro G in 2004 and, who took it. I remember like a product like dibencozide was like,
Yes.
the hugest.
Yeah.
Boron,
I couldn't say it fast.
Smilax.
I got one for you guys. What's
Oh my God, yeah.
What's
yeah.
the first supplement that you used? Can you remember the very first one?
It's probably Weeder Dynamic Weight Gainer, which just tore my stomach in half because I didn't know anything about lactose intolerance at the time. But my older brother, who was responsible for getting me into bodybuilding and fitness as well, he had the cans on the kitchen counter. I'm like, well, I got to be cool like my brother, and I got to take that. I'm like, oh my God, my stomach. But yeah, probably Weeder Dynamic Weight Gainer was one of the first things that I tried. And then I can remember the original, Universal Animal Pack can in yellow, where it was Universal and the product was called Animal Pack. Yeah. And that would be sitting on the shelf right next to Beverly International's big kind of saran plastic bag of multi-packs.
I remember that one.
And if anyone wanted anything, quote unquote hardcore, that's what they came in for. And that's what we sold. And that kind of began my love for the brand and what you do, because I've watched it, I've lived it, I've used it and trusted it for decades. And again, anyone watching this is not a sponsored show from Universal Animal. This is us just giving.
Right. We just happen to have a connection through animals.
That's why we mention experiences, and that, we're proud of it enough that, we're drinking out of mugs and we're wearing shirts, but it is the lifestyle brand, the original lifestyle brand. And I would say, yeah, Dynamic Weight Gainer, back to your question. That's what I used first. And then, Animal Packs when I could swallow them. After that, it was actually right to what Eric just spoke about. I'm going to Smilax. I'm going to Boron and dibencozide. And they used to have all that product in a lucite acrylic lockbox to make it even that much more sought after and desired and special. But yeah, I had great experiences there. I met a great family when I moved to California. I worked at GNC in California through my college years. Just before that, I had a chance to work for Gary Stridham in his Venice location when he opened Crazy Wear and then Zero Wear. And
I don't remember that one.
He straight up in his South African accent asked me if I wanted to get a job there because I had shopped there a lot, bought clothes. It was right across the street from Gold's Venice on Hampton Drive, I think it is, or Hampton Avenue. And I was like, you know what? I just got a job at a GNC that's like around the block from my house. Let me start off there. And I just never went back, but always had great experiences, working at all different GNCs. And then the last one, and the story was when I came back from California after I made it through, God rest his soul, Rodney King, the O.J. Simpson case in a 6.8 Northridge earthquake. I said I'm coming back to. I'm
I
coming
didn't
back.
realize you were out there for that stuff.
Yeah, it was those crazy years I was out there, and I don't regret that they were great. But I got a job back at a GNC here in Long Island, and I'm still friends with all my buddies that I work with to that day, and my friend that actually had moved up all the way through the company from probably stock and sales guy all the way to SVP over his probably 25-year career. And we just got to become great friends. And we were like the number one GNC in the Northeast. We just cranked it with supplementation, gold cards. I've shown you guys some of the pictures before. I actually have old Polaroids of those shelves and what they look like, from all the Champion Nutrition product to the MLO, all the Cybergen, all the Twin Lab. And that's when I'll close it with this. I was just like the whole RX Metrex phase. Everyone just coming out with boxes of, whether it was, Nature's Best had Perfect RX, and Joita had his RX, and of course there was Metrex and RX Fuel from Twin Lab. There was just so many, and people were buying them. Just
bro, I was working at a gym in Staten Island, New York, in the 90s, and I had to buy Metrex from a guy out of his trunk in his car.
Was that the base of the Plus?
Wow.
They had the base and the Plus.
Base and the Plus. Yeah.
Wow.
We're running low on time. We only got about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Real quick, my first ever supplement I tried was Weider Dynamic Muscle Builder. I tried it at somebody's house.
Okay.
Mixed it. It was a protein powder, mixed it in orange juice, which is odd. I remember that to this day.
Wow.
I don't know if Animal Pack was the very first supplement I bought, but it was one of the first that I bought. I have some funny supplement stories, but I'll tell one real quick. There was a product called Mesomorphosis, and it was glandulars, and it had like testicular glandular, and it made all these claims. And I was with my buddy Mike O'Brien, who you know. Maybe we'll have him on a show one day. We were just about to take it, and he stops me and he goes, "Hey pal," he goes, "You realize," and he was dead serious. He goes, "You realize once we swallow these, we'll no longer be natural."
I love it. I love it. You were the Liver King before the Liver King taking glandulars.
We got to talk about him next episode. Jay, quick, what was your first?
So my first one was actually a product called Ultimate Orange, which had
the original pre-workout
and ephedra, which at the time wasn't banned. And I had no clue. I was just a kid working catering. I was doing catering, and they gave it to me. Like, yeah, this is good for energy. And I'm like, okay. Oh my God, my heart was like, I took too much. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was memorable.
That was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, that was probably the original pre-workout. And then after
there
that,
wasn't a thing called pre-workout.
There was really nothing else.
Right.
Yeah, there was nothing else at that. Well, actually, Universal Rage came out as a version similar to like Ultimate Orange at the time. And then I think the industry kind of went dead on pre-workouts until BSN with their NO Explode.
Yeah. NO Explode really like changed that category.
That was the game changer. Yep. For pre-workouts.
Yeah. That's a good description. I would say, right. There was the ephedra wave, and then, whatever you were using that for, whether it was pre or just, oh my God, just being, just jolted all day long. But yeah, then when that got into all its trouble, there was that little gap. And then, you're right. I guess it would be NO Explode.
Yeah. They really like grew that category.
Ronnie Coleman.
That category, I bought into the whole thing that they have, it was NO Explode. They had the nitric.
Nitrix, I remember that. Yeah.
Cell Mass was the post workout. They got me on the whole stack. They sold me on the whole stack.
Yeah. Oh, the good throwbacks.
I was the guy that fell for all the ads. I guess that's why I was good at doing marketing for that stuff.
Did you fall for Lee Haney's Mass Fuel suitcase kit?
Absolutely. I bought the whole kit, and I remember I was a huge Lee Haney fan, and I see your poster back there.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Signed autograph.
There was a protein bar in that Mass Fuel kit, and my jaw still hurts from eating those.
Yeah, they were something
like
else.
A chewy brick.
Wow.
Big too. That's probably like this long. That thing was crazy.
It's funny because that was very controversial at the time. Haney was a Weider athlete, and in '91 he switches to Twin Lab. Going into the '91 Olympia, and everybody said, "Oh, they're going to make him lose on purpose now." Weider's pissed. It's politics, but of course he won, and there wasn't really any of those politics. But that was super interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, going into the '91 Olympia, right?
Wow.
It's cool. We got a minute left, so.
Well, what should we
take it home?
What do you think we're going to talk about next time? What can we
I'm
get
hoping
into?
next time we got a guest on. That's the plan.
Okay. And definitely, Jay, I know you wanted to talk about some other formulations that you did and how you came, to doing those and some of the behind the scenes, which I think would be great. And we could share our experiences too on some pieces of equipment or gym equipment that we've been using or attachments. Again, this is just all kind of real life experiences of, what we've lived through, what we've seen, what we tried. You don't have to take our word for it. You can talk to your own expert and say, I heard these guys, the gym guys, talk about it. What do you think of it? Is it truth? Does it work? Does it not work? But that's what this is all about, for you to kind of extract what you want and use it to your own advantage and your own benefit. So happy to have everyone join us on a weekly basis for this. We love doing it.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Appreciate anybody listening in.